It's easy to fall into the scary what if scenarios. They come naturally to us. It comes naturally to us to find where it's going to fall apart. You can't stop your mind from doing it. What's unnatural is to ask yourself, but what if this works? And to really lean into that and run full speed ahead.
Welcome, everybody, to the Chris Harder Show, where we are making you unapologetic about your pursuit of success, knowing that when good people like you make good money, they can then do great things. My name is Chris Harder, and several times per week, I will bring you epic guests, solo episodes, and every single tool, trick, and skill set you need to grow your business, grow your money mindset, and to grow your wealth to levels that you have never reached before. I've ended up in a unique place in life where I've got the experience, the connections, and all of the secrets that it takes to be successful. And I'm lifting the curtain to reveal it all to you in an effort to help put you in a position of abundance so great that you can then be as generous as possible. So let's lock arms and let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Chris Harder Show, where today I'm grateful for the new home that we are in. We moved in a new home last week, sold our other one, and moved up the hill a little bit so we got ocean views. And I'm just so freaking grateful for this place. We love it. And I'm also grateful for all the people that are helping, get us moved in and get us settled and all that. My God, it is so much work, as I'm sure all of you already know, because I'm sure all of you have moved a handful of times as well. Anyhow, if you're like, why is this guy telling me what he's grateful for? I always start my solo episodes sharing something I'm grateful for as a quick reminder for you to do the same. I'm telling you, scarcity and worry and fear and all those bad things come from not having a gratitude practice. And when I constantly take inventory of what I do have, instead of concentrating on what I do not yet have, that's when I feel really good about myself and really good about, just the state of the world, if you will. And so this is my way of demonstrating that for you to do. So don't even be afraid to hit pause real quick and make a list of things you're grateful for, or do it at the end of this show. Now, speaking of scarcity, that's what this episode is about, because I was recently working with one of my one-on-one clients, and she was expressing to me how much scarcity she's been feeling lately because she's making a lot of changes to her pricing and changes to her programs and changes to her marketing. And change is scary. And it creates this situation where we feel a lot of scarcity come up when we're making changes, even though they're changes for the better, because we're going from the known to the unknown. In other words, you're going from what you know works well enough right now to what you assume will work way better. That's why you make the changes in your programs. That's why you make the changes in your pricing. That's why you make the hires and the investments and all these things in your business. But making all of those things truly is the unknown. And it's the unknown that drums up all of these feelings of fear and scarcity in us, especially around our business finances. And so, I sent her a big, long voice note, if you will, of just a few things to remember. And I wanted to share those things with you as well, as if I was one-on-one coaching you, because they're very important things to remember, and they'll go a long way in helping you not have scarcity around your business and its cash flow and its future. So the first thing that I shared was this. I said, don't forget, you have to account for how you cash flow. What I mean by that is my client was freaking out a little bit because they collected a whole bunch of their revenue up front, but then they hadn't been collecting much of their revenue for the past couple of months, even though they've been fulfilling the product that they sold when they collected all that revenue up front. And they were freaking out because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't see as much money coming in this month, and I don't see as much money coming in last month. And I'm used to money coming in, a certain amount of money coming in every single month. And I had to remind them, cash flow and the projections around cash flow are incredibly important to understand. I had to remind them that there's a big difference between cash flow and profitability. These are two very different things. If you only use cash flow, in other words, how do you feel about the money coming in this month, as a judgment as to how well you're doing in your business, instead of a more macro picture of profit and loss and cash flow, then it's easy to feel scarcity. When you look at only how much you have coming in this month, and you forget how much you brought in 3 months ago, let's say during a launch, or you forget that you have another big lump sum of cash flow coming in, a month or two in the future. When you're only looking at this zoomed in view of it, of course it's easy to feel scarcity. You probably see some people out there that are selling like all the time, right? They're every time you go on their Instagram, they're selling. Every single time you listen to, their podcasts, everything, whatever, like they're selling, selling, selling. It's because they're addicted to cash flow as a form of safety instead of truly running a business, understanding how cash flow plays a role in the greater picture of profit and loss. And as long as at the end of the year, your business is a lot more profitable, right, than it was the year prior, then you're sitting well. Now, there is one caveat here. Cash flow, I sometimes point out, is equal to or more important than profit. Of course, you have to run a profitable business, but it's more important in that, well, let me use a silly example. Let's say you had a business that was going to collect $1 million this year, and it was only going to cost you $300,000 to earn that $1 million. So you're going to profit 700 grand. Everyone would tell you that's a fantastic business, right? Very profitable. But here's where the cash flow part comes in. If you're not aware of how your business cash flows, let's pretend you had to spend all $300,000 in the first month of the year, and then you slowly got paid back over the next 11 months. Well, because of the way the cash flows in that scenario, that might put you out of business because you'd run out of operating cash, even though in the end of the year, you would have had a profitable business. So all this to say, you can't just wake up and say, oh my gosh, I don't feel like there's money coming in lately. You have to understand the full picture between your plans for profitability, right? The macro picture there, and the how behind how your business cash flows. Is this part of the plan that you're making less this month? Or is this truly something you should be concerned about? Because a lot of times it's just part of the plan. The second thing I had a reminder was this. When you're growing your business and making all the necessary changes to grow and to scale, it's incredibly natural and totally okay, by the way, to feel scared. Heck, it happens to Lori and I still every time we make big changes or big hires or invest a ton of money into one of our startups. It's just on different scales, guys. The same devil kind of never goes away. It's just same devil, different level. Does that make sense? But back to your scenario, it's okay to feel scared when you're making these investments. You're changing, or when you're making changes to your products, right? And to the way that you price them. It's because you're changing the way that you earn your livelihood. New pricing, new programs, you name it. You're changing the way you earn your livelihood, where you're investing in new tech or new team members or new ideas, or you're buying a bunch of product up front that you've never had to buy before. All of these things feel very threatening, but you can't forget. You can always go back to what's always worked for you in the past, right? That's kind of your safety blanket. You can always go back to your old pricing, your old product form, whatever it is. You can always go back to what's been working for you in the past. But that's not what you want, or you wouldn't be making these changes. You want a bigger, better, more profitable, more abundant future. And so you'll never know how good it can get if you don't try these things. It's okay for them to be absolutely necessary and good for your future at the same time as feeling scary. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. If anything, they typically go hand in hand. So you just got to remember, when you're making these necessary changes, it's natural for it to feel a little bit threatening, but you have to remember why you're making the changes. Nothing gets better if you don't change what you're doing. The third thing I had a reminder of was this. The correct way to view your financial situation is that you always have full control over how quickly you spend, how quickly you invest in your new ideas, how quickly you hire. So you can always slow it down if you need to. Nothing's permanent. I mean, listen, in a perfect world, you never want to hire somebody and then let them know, gosh, I'm sorry, I don't have the cash flow yet for this. I shouldn't have made the hire that early. You don't want to do that, but you can. It's not the end of the world. That might be an extreme example. But the truth is, you're in full control of how quickly you turn on and off the faucet of investing in your business. So if it's starting to feel a little bit scarce, if you will, take a good objective look. Should I slow down my spending? Or is this all part of the plan? And that kind of goes back to having financial projections, right? Let me give you a silly example. Let's say the outgo for you to keep running your business or even running your household is $10,000 a month. If you never earned another penny, but you've got $60,000 in all of your accounts, 60,000 divided by 10K a month means you'd have 6 months of runway ahead of you. In other words, 6 months of safety before the thing collapsed. And that's if you never added another penny, which we both know is not going to be the case. Sales ebb and flow, sometimes naturally because of the economy or where we are in the year, and sometimes because it's part of the plan. But sales, aka how and when you collect your revenue, it always ebbs and flows, and it will definitely flow again. So in reality, you have a lot more than 6 months of runway in the example I just gave. You probably have 9 months or 12 months when you calculate future income that you know that you can generate. So you got to stop stressing over today's exact picture and take the whole future into account. This is why you constantly need, and I can't stress this enough, this is why you constantly need to have 18 months of cash flow analysis and projections, either done by yourself or done by somebody else like a fractional CFO. Financial scarcity comes from making up a scary future in our heads instead of truly knowing how much runway we have at any given time using real financial projections. I've watched this happen a million times. Until you decide to put together real financial projections or have somebody do it for you, then by default, you're going to make up the scariest possible scenario instead of looking at what I call a roadmap. When you can look at a roadmap and see, oh, it's okay for me to feel a little bit less money in the bank right now. This is the part where I turn left to get to my destination. Oh, this is the part where there's a dip in the hill before we get to the top of the mountain because I can see it here on the map. That's what I mean by having 18 months of cash flow analysis and projections done either by yourself. Learn how to do it, guys. It's not hard. You can freaking put it in ChatGPT and learn how, or have somebody do it. So then the fourth thing that I had to remind the client of is this. When you're making improvements in your business, when you're making investments, when you're making changes to your products or programs, we are naturally programmed to look for where it could go wrong. We are naturally programmed to look for the fear. Our prehistoric minds are survival minds. They're preservationist minds, right? So we have to look for the fear. We can't stop ourselves. It's the dominating thought. But you have to ask yourself, what if this works? Your new pricing, your new programs, your new marketing, your new employee. Holy shit, what if people love it? What if this freaking works? It's easy to fall into the scary what if scenarios. They come naturally to us. But we forget to purposely put ourselves in the optimistic what if scenarios, the what if scenarios of possibility, and then to actively manifest those both in our mind and through our actions. It comes naturally to us to find where it's going to fall apart. You can't stop your mind from doing it. What's unnatural is to ask yourself, but what if this works? And to really lean into that and run full speed ahead. Listen, I'd summarize all this with two simple things. Number one, we're naturally programmed to find where the fear is. And that applies to everything, our finances especially, because in this day and age, our finances determine our safety in this world. But if you have two things, number one, true financial projections done, like a real understanding of what your future holds, and the flexibility to keep trying new things until something works, knowing you can always go back to what worked in the past if you have to for a minute, then you will always end up with the abundance that you need. Don't forget that. Some of you have heard that we have a brand new program coming out. And a lot of you, this is your first time hearing it, but it's for businesses that earn under $500,000. This big forgotten group. We used to have this incredible program called Fast Foundations. We ran it for years and people freaking loved it. And we sold that program a few years back. But we just keep hearing person after person after person say, hey, when are you going to put something together again for all of the businesses that aren't making $1 million, for all the businesses that aren't making, 8 figures? And so we hear you. And we've been working our asses off on this, especially our team, for the past several months. We've been working on this since last year. And one of the features of this new program is that you get 24/7 access to a financial coach for no extra cost. As a matter of fact, you get 24/7 access to lots of coaches for no extra cost. We're putting together a mentorship panel that you get free Loom coaching, back and forth, a financial coach, a sales coach, a tech coach, you name it. Totally free at no extra cost. If you're in the program, you get as much attention from these coaches as you need on our dime. We're paying for that piece. It's the greatest thing on the planet. Add to that, there's going to be a weekly call, over half of those that Lori and I are doing ourselves, literally giving you advice on your business. And then the coaches are doing the other ones. And then we're going to have a huge emphasis on connecting and collaborating, literally finding those of you out there, connecting you and showing you where, hey, if you collaborate with this person, then you really knock it out of the park. Huge emphasis on connecting and collaborating. Guys, it's going to be the greatest thing that we have ever freaking done. So listen, if you're interested, because we're hiring coaches that you'll get access to for free, we only can have just so many participants, right? We can't have an infinite number of participants in that situation. So if you want early access, or if you want to be in the front of the line, so to speak, right now, hit stop and go to chrisharder.me/waitlist. We're launching this thing in mid-April, and trust me, you want to be in the front of the line. So right now, go to chrisharder.me, that's .me, chrisharder.me/waitlist. Put yourself on the waitlist, and you'll be in the front of the line to get in this brand new program for businesses under $500,000. I can't freaking wait for this thing. This is like the greatest news on the planet. And it'll help with your financial scarcity that we just talked about, because there's a financial coach that you get to go back and forth with. chrisharder.me/waitlist. That's chrisharder.me/waitlist. We'll see who gets into the program in April. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Love and appreciate you.
Thanks for listening. And if you loved this episode and know of someone else who is as successful as they are generous, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world to me if you help me get this cause and this message out to as many listeners as I can. So please, if you liked what you heard, it goes a long way if you take 30 seconds and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. I'll be forever grateful. And until the next episode, cheers to your success.